you did spend some time out on the road. You did do your road dues, um, and of course, being around in that time when there were still big bands that were touring, um, that had to be a lot of fun. Good education.
That was, man. I'm so sorry that that doesn't happen. Like, things are not going to go back to that. The norm is not ever going to be here. We are into a new paradigm, into a new existence. The music is, there's such wonderful musicians out there, but they're not going to have the way I see it. The bands that came up through the 40s, they're gone.
Yeah.
They were great. They were the best. I mean, I've had Basie. I stood out in front of Basie one night and just my jaw was resting on the floor the whole evening. It was just such a wonderful a band, and of course Duke's band and Buddy's Rich's band. I heard Chuck when he was 18 years old there, and I said, my Lord of mercy.
Hell
and
yeah.
and heard that band with him and Bobby Shue, and those guys were tearing it up, and then, I was studying with Bud Brisbois. This is when I was in the Navy, and studying with Bud Brisbois, so I was tagging along with him in the Junior Neophonic. He was doing a lot of feature stuff, plus his own, appearances as a trumpet player. And I was in the Navy with and listening to Ozzie Matthews. I was in Norfolk, Virginia, and I was listening, and we had a record player, and we just kept playing Flamingo over and over and over again. Some guy had a record of it, and I was just flabbergasted at the way Bud played. And when I came out on the West Coast and did 2 tours of duties to Vietnam, between those, being on a ship and everything, between those excursions to the Gulf of Tonkin, I would study with Bud Brisbois. I'd take a bus or whatever, and go find him, and he had me play in like Dizzy Gillespie books. It was a book called World Statesman, which had about 8 tunes on it, and it had transcribed solos of Dizzy solos, and a little a record that you could hear how he played it. And that's mainly what I studied, was lead playing, and also, of course, Bud had his own books and his own routine. But it was a really good training for becoming a lead player and doing that kind of work, because of Dizzy's range and the way and the swing bebop. The best lead players, including Snooky at the very top, is they're all jazz players. And so that was before Hawaii and all stuff. This is when I was 18 to 22 years old.
Yeah.
And studying and doing that business.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's a really interesting statement you made about, Snooky, who's one of my all-time favorite lead players. That playing lead, a lot of people just think about, well, you just got to be able to play the high notes. Well, obviously that's part of the gig, but the style is so important. Your ability, especially if you're playing with a big band, if you're playing lead, you really got to be able to swing, and you really have to have the feel, because you're basically driving the bus. So when you think about the way that you were brought up in that kind of lead playing environment, do you feel that was really helpful to you as a session player, since you do have to be able to go in and you never know what you're going to have in front of you, and just your ability to switch styles and to be able to lock in?
Absolutely. And we were sort of like the big prostitutes of the recording industry in Los Angeles. You know, our slogan was "Say yes to everything," and and a couple of times it got me in the mess of trouble. But most of the time, I came out okay. You might go in and I did a jingle once, and I walked in, and it was like, the writer says, "I've been listening to Herbert L. Clark all week," and he says, "and I wrote you a solo. It was only about 2 minutes long, but it was loaded with technical, stuff, and it was it'll get your attention. You're always under that umbrella in the studio work, is that you're only as good as your last note. They have a lot of fear in it, so you and being prepared, and being prepared with your instrument and stuff, is sometimes, playing it with some big band until 2 or 3 in the morning, and then getting up and doing a French movie call, French music at 9 a.m. And it's just like you just want to be able to get this thing to vibrate,
Yeah.
and play it soft. And you have to approach it and have your act pretty well together, or you won't be called back.
Right.
That is true. So I did. Yeah. So it was a challenge. It's different music every day.
Yeah.
So it's not something that prepared for. You're prepared for having to play something that is somebody else's imagination of what it should be, and somehow pulling it off where it sounds good, really comes off great. And we did a tune with George Duke. Jerry and I did. Well, Jerry, it was George's parts, and I think Jerry's parts too. Always Jerry would intermingle the writing and improve it. And we did this tune for George Duke that was like, it took us 3 hours, which is a long time in those days to record one tune.
Right.
And it was really, really loaded with notes and skips and jumps, and it was power packed, and it ended up on double Bs, and it was just ridiculous, And then George got the I think it was the Soul Train Awards, or it was one of those award shows, and he was the MD, and this was going to be the theme song live. So now, this wasn't going to be pre-recorded like we were going at it, rolling up our sleeves and going at it. This is going to be live. And I went over to George. I said, George, please, man, can we do something else? It was really that different. And he looked at me and he says, "You the Cats."
Well, you built your reputation, so you got to live up to it, man.
And he said that. I laughed, man. I said, "Oh, well, okay," And we did. We played the holy piss out of it, and it was great.
Yeah. Well, you know what? There's kind of a love-hate relationship that I have, and many trumpet players have, with you and Jerry and Chuck, because of all the stuff that you guys have done that we're playing in cover bands and going, how in the hell did these guys do this? Because any horn band, you're going to be playing a lot of Earth, Wind and Fire and Michael Jackson and, that sort of stuff from the day. And man, just some of that stuff was just, it boggles my mind how you guys actually pulled that off. So,
Yeah, it was a heck of a ride.